Hey, good afternoon. Hey, good afternoon. You know, I go to these meetings and they do that and I don't answer. Okay. We're all away. It's after lunch. First, let me thank you for being here. If your schedule is anything like mine, and I know it is because you've got students coming, trying to be advised, get through, you're busy, and away from your desk is not necessarily where you need to be right now, but we place some importance in being here. I want to share something with you that I think is pretty impressive for you as a group. I've been in 2 meetings over the last 2 days. One yesterday and one this morning. And in both meetings, I want you to know different folks, multiple folks said, we can't survive without our advisors. We've got to take care of our advisors. That's the honest truth. They feel like you are the backbone, in a lot of cases, to student success. And they are asking on your behalf how we support you now and going forward. So know that voice is out there. Our chancellor mentioned to me this morning the conversation he's having actually with the president about advisors. So even at the top levels, you are critical to what we do on this campus. And so we don't provide these tools just so we've got fancy tools that look nice and we can show glitzy graphs. We do it because it informs you and how you interact with the student, and so you can steer a student, or at least provide student information that would potentially guide them away from a path that might lead to more credit hours, more costs, and perhaps even saying, I'm just forget it, I'm not going to do it. And so what you do is really important. So today, you're going to get an opportunity where they've added another module to student success. They've purchased Grades First. They've added in there, and they're going to give you some examples of how we can use Grades First as a way to also help our students. I hope you are using this tool. I was talking with one of our deans this morning, and she was commenting about another university and how they had used EAB and how it had changed the entire campus, that their retention, their graduation, everything was just absolute out the top of the charts. We have that same potential here. And so I hope you understand, first, the significant role that folks on this campus see that you play. I'm telling you honestly, 2 different meetings and then hearing the chancellor say it this morning, the role you play on this campus, how important it is. So how important that is to the campus, but the importance of how we use these tools. We can spend a lot of money and not use them, and big deal. But if we really use these tools, you have an opportunity to play a role in the success of a student. So when somebody asks you what you do on campus, how do you answer? Don't say an academic advisor, because what you are is somebody who helps somebody achieve their dream. You really are. And folks have asked me, and I say, well, I help achieve their lifetime goals. And, wow, what do you do? Well, I'm just a cog in the wheel, just like the rest of us are just part of that wheel that make things happen. But without you, we realize, and I think folks are beginning to realize, you know, when we started hiring professional advisors, people, that's a factor, Now they see the difference that a professional advisor can make. And that's not an advisor, it's a professional advisor. You know your job better than anybody. So I'm not going to take any more of your time. This is important to us. You've made great strides in helping us move the needle over the past 3 years. I hope to see yearly that continue to move. The quicker we can do it, the better off we are with funding, but also the better off the students are. And as people ask me the question, I say it's, in fact, sometimes Matt's in here, I better be careful. Sometimes around faculty, I will say it's not about teaching. It's about learning. And if students are learning, faculty are teaching, because they're doing exactly what they should do in the classroom. So, you know, you're advising, but if you do your job the way you're supposed to do it, students will progress, they'll persist, will be successful, and there'll be a payoff in the end. So I'm sure there's a lot you've got to learn this afternoon in a short time. If you have questions afterwards, Dr. Roush, Yancey, these folks, we can connect you. Use what we provide you, because we really do that so that you can do your job better. But thanks for taking the time. I know you're busy and a lot going on right now. Okay? Thank you. I'm off for another meeting.
Thank you, Dr.
All right.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see many of the same faces again. It's great to be back. My name is Ashley Prelo. For those that are a little bit newer to the university, I've been working with you all for over 2 years at this point, I think. Wow. Goodness. All right. Well, I'm glad to be back and showing you all some new and exciting things because, again, just like Dr. Ainsworth mentioned, there have been a lot of investments going on behind the scenes in order to help you all do your jobs. But not just to help you all do your jobs, but to also help the students stay on track and get a job. So we are going to be working together a lot over the next, I have no idea, probably 6 months, just to make sure that you all are first familiar with the platform, you get trained on the platform, you give me your feedback on the platform, and then you all feel comfortable with that platform and you can continue to use it, continue to give me that feedback so we can continue to strengthen that platform over time and make sure that, again, we're giving you all the resources that you need to do your job and to do it efficiently. So let me give you a roadmap for where we're headed today, just so you understand the bits and pieces of what I'm planning to cover. The very first thing that we'll talk about is just why the Student Success Collaborative, not to give you all the same background information that we've gone through in the past, but what was really the motivation behind acquiring Grades First? Why did we move away from SSC Foundation and create a bigger picture, a coordinated care network for you all to use? And you notice I mentioned that term coordinated care network, right? We will spend a little bit of time going into what that is, what we're trying to accomplish with the SSC campus system. And then we'll actually get to the demo. I don't want to take any more time away from that. I want to get straight to it to show you all the bells and whistles and to give you all a feel for what the system can actually do for us today. And then we'll talk a little bit about next steps, because I know one of the biggest questions that you all will have coming out of this session is, when can I use it? So we'll start to talk about that today, but we'll continue to give you updates over time. Does that sound like a good plan for you all? All right, perfect. Feel free to interrupt me with any questions as we proceed. All right, so here's the question of why SSC? Why SSC Campus? Why did we go in this direction? Well, quite frankly, there's two reasons. Three, if you want to count the overall institution, but I'm thinking about your role specifically here today. We're trying to help the students, this is the first piece, find where they need to be, find the services, the resources, the offices that they need to access without running all over campus, without going to certain people and getting perhaps 3 different pieces of conflicting advice. We want to create a straight shot to whatever they need in order for them to stay on path at the institution, okay? And that will help them go towards graduation and making sure that they're persisting, making sure that they're retaining, and that these offices, these services, and these resources on campus are talking to one another in order to help keep that student on path. The second reason, just for the purpose of today, is because we noticed that staff, not just advisors, and we're going to use the advisor as an example today, but staff in general, their roles continue to expand on campus. They're asked to do more and more and more, perhaps with limited resources, different resources. However, what we're trying to do is, again, give you all today a resource in order to help not necessarily stop the evolution or the expansion of what your role is, but to help you just accomplish the day-to-days as they do continue to expand. Okay, so as you've seen, things go from course planning all the way to first year orientation. I'm sure you all are starting your advising sessions earlier and earlier every year. You're becoming more strategic about how you're targeting your students, because we know, not all the students when they come to campus are going to have an equal journey. We need to make sure that we're getting in front of those students and targeting them appropriately, again, to help them stay on path and get them the services that they need. So when we talk about the coordinated care approach and why this goes hand in hand with SSC Campus, is because now what we're doing is we're giving you all, again, a tool to help the students stay on path. But what does that actually look like? What are the steps that go behind the scene? And then again, how does that connect with SSC Campus? So if you all remember, again, how many folks have used the SSC Foundation system so far? Probably the majority of folks in the room. Okay, great, fantastic. So the idea of the predictive model is not new for some of us in this room. The idea of being able to spot whether a student is on or off path or whether they're at risk, that is not new. What we're doing now is giving you all the tools to be able to target those students, to be able to track those students, and to be able to see how effective you actually were through that process. And then not just you and your all's eyes on the students, but also administration, senior leaders, looking at, are we actually closing the loop when we send these students to a certain service here, if we refer them to a service, if they're getting that resource that they need in order to stay on path, then how effective is that collaboration? Are we telling the student to go over to tutoring to make that appointment, or can we just schedule a tutoring appointment in our offices for that student, and then they can just show up then? Are we able to then track again the effectiveness of that appointment to see, okay, were those outcomes that we expected, the outcomes that we originally planned for, were those met? And if not, why? Let's go back and figure out, what did we miss here? How can we continue to improve? There are also the idea of resource allocation behind this as well. If you see that there are certain students coming into your offices at certain peaks during the semester for certain reasons, we can track that. And if we know that the students are coming for that reason, do we have the resources associated to help those students? If not, again, it's another way for us to make a case for additional resources, okay? So I wanted you all to see how these things come hand in hand. The coordinated care network is actually a term that was developed from the healthcare space. For those of you that know a little bit more about our company, the second half does deal with the healthcare, and we take practices from that area just to know a little bit more about how can we help these folks that have historically been underserved. So this is what we're going with the coordinated care network approach. As we get into the site, I think you'll actually see it come to life even more. So let's fast forward. When you get into the site, there will be a number of new functionality pieces. So I wanted to highlight these now because when we go through the demo, it's only going to be a tip of the iceberg type of a conversation. We know this. There are no students here today. I will try to impersonate some students to give you a feel for what they will see. But in the moment, things are going to be a little bit different. So I want to give you a sense for, okay, not only are we pulling in everything from SSC Foundation, that includes the risk, but we're also able to now treat this SSC campus system more like a CRM, where we can track, we can keep not only just summaries of the students, but notes, memos, we can upload attachments, we can schedule appointments, we can kick off emails and text messages and all that great stuff. So I want you all to be able to see how much we've evolved from the SSC Foundation system, just again to be able to give you all the tools that you need. On the other side there's something at the top called the early warning, where we have another portion of the site called early alerts. That is something that we might be bringing into phase one. We're going to have conversations with the leadership team about that. But just note that even once we get through the phase one functionality of the appointment scheduling and the communications pieces, the appointment campaign pieces, that there's still more. There is still more coming. So that's why I put a little bit of a teaser at the top there for early alerts, because there's also progress report campaigns, there's also enrollment census, and a number of other types of resources and analytics that we can use within the site. Okay? Again, we're just going to get to the tip of the iceberg today, but I'm going to go ahead and jump into the site, give you all a sense for how it would work, how it would function. And then again, I think that this is probably where your questions are going to come up the most. So feel free to stop me if you see something you want to talk a little bit more about your workflow in your office and how that could come to life in SSC Campus. Okay, so we're here. Are you all, especially folks in the back, are you able to see this okay? Great. Okay. So again, welcome to SSC Campus. This is not UTC's SSC Campus. We're going to go into that in the next session for those of you that are going to be joining us. But this is our test site. So the students that you see here are all fake. This is test data, so we're not looking at any FERPA violations as we go through this site. Just want to call that out. And then what we're essentially acquainting you all right now to is the advisor homepage. So when you log in, or when you go through your single sign-on process like you do with the SSC Foundation site, instead of going in SSC Foundation, you'll land here. And what's nice about this is depending on the role of the person, so if you're a faculty advisor, or if you're a regular advisor, or if you're a professor without the advising piece, we can actually create a different type of a homepage for you. These homepages are standard, but depending on your role, they will change. The other thing that I'll do is I'll scroll down and show you, some of you all are already seeing some of the great things that you can do here, which is the automatic upload of assigned students. So we can actually just pull these on a regular semester the same way that we've been doing with SSC Foundation, but now you're not going to have to create a separate list on these, right? You still had to find them. You had to take that extra step to pull that list and get that list of assigned students. This will automatically populate on your homepage. And what's nice about this is you can see all your upcoming appointments. You can set your availability for when you'll be free. There's an advising center and advising request that we'll go into in just a little bit of a moment. But just to get you all familiar with this first page, there's so much that you can do from this page, and that's intentional. Again, our goal is to try to make you all very efficient and not have to. We're actually counting the number of clicks in between each of the steps that it takes you to do something or to perform a task, because it should be as little clicks as possible in order for you to get what you need. Okay? So again, when we think about feedback, please let me know if you find that yourself clicking around the site and you're not able to really get what you need quickly. All right, so we're going to actually take a quick leap into the advanced search, because I wanted to show you how much this has changed and how that looks different from the SSC Foundation page. You'll notice that I will continue to call this the hamburger menu for a very long time. I know it's very corny, but that's what we call it at EAB. And the reason is because there's two bun and a patty, and we can scroll down here and you'll see all the different aspects of the site. Some you will have access to, and some you will not. Okay, so keep that in mind. But when we look at this, some of the main things that you'll need access to, the conversations, calendar, campaigns, reminders, advanced search, lists and searches, and perhaps depending on your role, some of the analytics or reports. But that pretty much sums it up. When we get into the advanced search now, it's going to give you similar functionalities as when that little drawer slides out on the left in SSC Foundation, where you get that list of filters. What's nice is that now there are even more robust types of filters. Can you believe that? You thought there were a lot before, now that there are even more. And again, this is intentional because we found folks that needed to pull in students from two category or two concentration populations, right? We know that you all don't necessarily are just staying within one major or only one population. So for these particular filters, I'll give you an example of how these things have changed. You can now add two categories together. Think about SSC Foundation for a second. When you were trying to add those groups, which I will now be calling synonymous with the categories that are in SSC Campus, you could only have one at a time. You could only look at one, because if you added the other, it would exclude. You can now add or exclude with these filters. So again, another level of functionality that will give you the students that you're looking for. Just for the sake of this conversation, I think it would be very helpful to show you that you can look for students that are currently enrolled in fall 2016, but not yet enrolled in spring 2017. For us right now, because this is stale data, I'm actually just going to use the fall 2016 as an example. Now, there are so many other filters here. I'll just quickly show you all what these filters are. Some you'll recognize are very similar, and some you'll recognize are even more robust. There is also a section filter as well. So you'll notice that that's something that is another addition from SSC Foundation. We can also pull in additional roles. So if you wanted to see how many folks were in a particular class that a specific instructor is teaching, you could do that as well. Then your risk levels and success markers. Let's go ahead and hit search here just to give you all a sense for what would come through. Now, just the same way that we did with SSC Foundation, the very first thing I'll ask you all to do once you get into this type of a site is to save your work list. And I'll show you where these will live in just a second, but this is not registered for fall 2016. Save that search. Okay, so now that's saved, and again, I'll show you where that lives in just a second. But take a look here. This is showing me about 4,000 students. On this page alone, every time you see this dark gray bar, you're going to see an actions menu. And this action menu is, again, another very robust area where you can now kick off part of your outreach. You can track your students, add notes, do a number of different things. We will actually show you all this in a little bit more detail on the next page. So now that I've actually saved this list, watch what happens. If I go back to my home page now, again, very similar to SSC Foundation, if I go here, not only are my assigned students located here and split out from my work list and watch list, but then I can also go back to any of my saved searches as well. So now from here, let's think about what we would do with these sets of students. And it's natural that we would act on it because these students have not yet registered yet. So we'll go back to the actions menu again, and now watch what I can do. I can either send them a quick message to say, dear students, please register for spring 2017 or fall 2016. You can add the subject in the message, and then this is where you can attach the different documents or pieces of information. So think about like a course listing or something that would really help the student move forward with that registration. The other thing is, and this is very similar to like a tweet, we actually provide 160 characters. We're trying to give you all a short window where you can communicate with the student very quickly and give them that quick reminder. So just be a little bit thoughtful about how you would text versus how you would email, because now you'll have the power to do both. Okay, so that's one version of an action. The next is, and this will take us into a different piece of functionality within the site, is the actual appointment campaign. So let's take a click on this, and we'll start an actual campaign based on those students that have not yet applied for the registration for spring 2017. Now you'll notice that this new invitation here is going to give us some different pieces of information that we didn't have before. You remember when you all were running your campaigns, you pretty much had to take that ownership of the outreach. Yes, there was an email button, but it just linked to your whatever email system that you have. This is not the same thing. You're actually creating a template within the site, so we can actually go through this very quickly. And I can pick the type of campaign now. So before it was only advising, but once we get into phase 2 or phase 3 and we think about tutoring, that's an option. Now this gives me the ability to say, okay, well, how many students will be able to meet with me at once? That's another level of functionality. Because again, you all might have group appointments. We don't want to restrict that. We don't want to get in the way of that. So you will have the option to choose how many students you want in that session. And whether it's related to a certain course or to a certain reason or service that you all provide as an advisor. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is do changes to my schedule because again, we're thinking about spring 2017 here, or in this case, fall 2016. We want to put an end date to this because again, it provides a level of accountability and we want the students to actually act on this. And if they are trying to meet with you after the time that you ask them to, they should get something like an error message or a warning or some other instructions on how to connect with you, just not through this campaign. Now, please keep in mind, the students are not going to see, oh, I'm a part of a campaign. What on earth does that mean? Where they're going to bombard you with several questions. That's not going to happen. But what they will get is a message to schedule an appointment with you. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, again, you can choose whichever time period that you would want. And then how many appointments can these students make that is campaign related during this time? Because you can have several appointments going on, right? You can have drop-ins, you can have walk-ins, students coming for all different types of reasons. But if you only want these students to see you once for this particular reason as a part of this campaign, you can control that. And then we'll just choose whichever location that we have here, which is the Business Advising Center. So we're going to continue to move forward. It will give us an opportunity to review the students, which is very nice. We can just double check that these are the students that we want to send this to. We can move forward. Okay, and now this is going to give me a list of folks that are available during this time. So imagine where me, myself could be available. I'm running this campaign, or I have that role within my office to run this campaign, but then I know that there's other people that need to participate. Going back to the Coordinated Care Network, we're trying to be a little bit more coordinated. So instead of me running a campaign and Stacy running a campaign and Seven running a campaign, we can all just have one office-oriented campaign. And we can add the additional advisors to this campaign. So what that means is that now when students are trying to schedule appointments with us, they can either see their direct advisor as a part of that campaign, or they can see other people that might have the availability to meet with them. So let's go ahead and do this. And now you'll notice that you're actually getting the communication pieces within the platform. I would recommend that you all, especially if you're going to get into the groove of running these campaigns on a regular basis, is create some sample templates for yourself. So you don't have to fill these out from scratch every single time. You'll notice that we're populating some pieces of information, but like those instructions or notes, things that you probably have somewhere already for your students, that information you can continue to just copy and paste in here from semester to semester, again, rather than creating it from scratch. What's nice is, and here I'm actually going to zoom in for this one, is that this is going to give you an email preview of what the student will see. So you can kind of see this on the left side here. The email that the student will receive will only give them a link to schedule that appointment with you. And that will give them to it will take them to a piece of the site, but not the whole thing. So don't fear that they're going to have access to the advanced search or anything like that. They will not. It's only to schedule an appointment with you. And then if for whatever reason that doesn't work, we give them the opportunity to just copy and paste the link, but your instructions will populate there. The next step is that if they click on that link, this is what they'll see. They'll be taken to a grid. We call it the schedulator. It's their opportunity to be able to literally just pick a time based on your availability that you set in the site. We will also be having conversations about calendar syncing so that you don't have to monitor your availability every day. You'll just do what you normally do with your calendar. You put up some certain blocks, conflict time, and then that should be fine because the system will actually pull that over. Now, if you're playing golf or going to Starbucks or something like that, the student will not see that information, and they'll just see that you're busy. So let's continue here. Okay, so now it's just going to ask me to confirm and send. Here, let me zoom back out again. And it will also give me the opportunity to select whether I want my reminders to be sent via text message, via email, or both. What happens here is that the system's automatically going to control this. You don't have to worry about reminding your students. You will be able to send a 24-hour notice of that appointment from the email automatically, and then a text message an hour before the appointment. These things, again, are going to happen behind the scenes, so you don't need to know, but the student will get these communications. And note that, again, you can turn them on or off depending on whether you would like this or not. All right, so we've kicked off our first campaign. Let me scroll down here and give you a sense for now the types of tracking capabilities that come hand in hand with this. So again, I told you that there are tons of other features in this site. We're going to skip straight through to appointment campaigns. and now show you the types of tracking tracking pieces that exist. So I'm going to use this one as an example because we did run this one already, and according to this one, we're still waiting for students to actually schedule with us. But as they schedule, you're going to be able to track how many appointments that you've been able to make. Our goal is to obviously get 100% of those appointments made, but if they're not, it's going to give you the opportunity to go back in to that campaign and say, okay, I know that only Thor has been able to make an appointment with me, but there are several students here on this list that have not. So I can actually send another message, resend another appointment request, or add even a note or tag on their profile that reminds myself that they did not respond to this initial appointment request, okay? So you all get a couple of different pieces of flexibility here when it comes to the students. But then ultimately, after that campaign happens, we're gonna ask that you incorporate the summary reports as a part of your workflow. And I will show you all a little bit more about what this looks like. But this actually closes the loop. When you submit a summary report, so not a note, an advising summary report that's connected to your appointment, now leaders across campus, now you even, will have the ability to see all the tracking pieces related to that appointment. So if you wanted to just see how many students came in during a week period to request changes to your schedule, you would be able to see that. And again, that's something that we did not previously provide with SSC Campus. Okay, so now I want to give you a sense for what the student view will see. So we're going to go ahead and select a student. And we're going to come back to the students page in just a second because what's going to come up on the screen first is going to look very similar to SSC. There we go. Okay, now this is what the student's view is. I just did a quick impersonation. You all don't necessarily need to know about that, but I am officially a student in this moment, and specifically Bridget. And now, because I kicked off that advising appointment campaign, there's going to be a notice on Bridget's page that says, I am looking to speak with you. I'm looking to meet with you. Can you please schedule an appointment with me? So all this information, whether the student logs in or not, they're going to get an email. If the student does have the ability to log in, they're going to get another reminder, a big yellow banner at the top of their page. But then they'll also have the ability to actually schedule appointments with you if there are none that are being currently requested. So they have all this type of flexibility, but you'll notice that as you get deeper and deeper into the system, they can have even more functionality as well. When we start off, it's just going to be the scheduling pieces to begin with. Okay, so that gives you the view of what the student can see. And let's actually pull back out here because now when we talk a little bit more about getting ready for our appointments, let's actually take a look here. Okay, a normal day as an advisor. I'm into the office now. I just go straight to that second tab and I can see who's all coming in to see me today. And if I want to, I can have a lot of control over what I do with these students. So if I needed to, for example, cancel all my appointments for that day because I'm sick, something came up, I can do that with one quick button. I don't have to go through and contact every single student. The other thing I can do is at the end of a very long day, if I know I've had very similar conversations, I can add an advising report. So this is that advising summary report that I was talking about that's different than notes. You all coming from SSC Foundation are very familiar with the idea of notes. And this is not going to be the first time that we'll talk about the difference between the two. So I don't want you to feel like you have to remember this right now. But these are going to be the new bread and butter. This is where all the tracking information is going to be stored. Notes now are like to-do items. They're like memos, sticky notes that you put on a student's page. An advising summary report is, again, connected to all these different tracking pieces. So it's going to pull in all the information from the appointment so that you don't have to manually fill that out. It's also going to pull in why the student is there to see you. So what were the services that they originally requested? You as the advisor can say, oh, well, I know we also need to talk about, changing the major and minor because the student had brought this up to me before. Then you can talk about the type of meeting. Is this going to be online? Is it in person? Is it over the phone? You can select this information as well. If this was related to a certain course or if it was tutoring related, you could choose that. The date of visit will automatically populate. And then this is where you can add all your notes. The choosing of a file, so to attach a file will be both in the notes component and the summary reports. So you will be able to add degree progress reports if you need to, conversations that you've had previously, again, to-do list, all that is available for you. And then, of course, the suggested follow-up time. But let's save this report. So now that we see that I've saved a report on Thora's page, I can access these details once she actually comes in to meet with me down here. So you can keep track of also your recent advising appointments, which is very nice. All, again, on the same page. When we get into Thora's page, here, let me actually show you this very quickly. I could be in a situation where I only have 5 minutes before I have to meet with Thora. So I have to quickly be able to obtain this information. And so again, this is something that from SSC Foundation, you all should be fairly familiar with, right? The 30-second gut check is right there. We're going to pull that over immediately for you all. You're going to get access to all the basic information like their majors and what other majors have they switched from in the past. You will also be able to see all their advisors, but not just the advisors, the tutors, and perhaps other relationships that we can create within the site. If you scroll down, you can also see, again, those groups or those categories. What is the student really involved in on campus? What are they a part of? And then tags. Tags are different than categories. Tags give you all a little bit more control, or your location administrator a little bit more control, or even Stacy, who is our application administrator at the moment, a little bit more control. This allows us to take things that are not quite in your student information system and tag them with certain attributes. So a good example was just the campaign that we ran. If those students, again, have been habitually not coming to these appointments, if they have told me over and over again, you know, I'm trying to switch a major or I'm trying to do something else, and the communication between me and those students has been minimal, I might put a tag on the student's page and then run searches on those students. Okay? Because again, that's not something that you might be able to get from your student information system. It's something that's self-controlled. When I go all the way back at the top here, you'll notice that the success markers will also automatically come over. Everything that you all have done so far in SSC Campus SSC Foundation will come over. The only things that will not, just to confirm this right now, are the statuses that you all have been working with. And the reasons are because those statuses now, to a certain degree, might be services, but we're moving into another type of analytical tracking where if you notice, the statuses are only good for one time, right? And then you can't really find them again. If the person puts another status on it, it could mess up a workflow. That's not going to happen this time because all the services, you can add as many services as possible and still be able to run reports. It doesn't matter how many times the student has met with someone, you can still see the impact of that appointment. So again, success markers are coming over. You'll be able to see all of those along with the same trends graphs, credit trends, and then we will also provide, because I know some folks did not necessarily like the visuals, but they like the hard numbers. We're now going to be able to give you the visuals and the hard numbers down at the bottom. The history tab is not the same as the history tab in SSC Foundation. This is a little bit more exciting. So first, you'll see the reminders that come up. If you remember in SSC Foundation, the reminders almost lived in a different place. And history was still a way to see anything at all that's ever happened on a student's page. That premise is still true, but now there's even more that's going on with this type of student. So let me show you how we're able to actually create a drawer of information that you can find quickly. What we found is that when you incorporate more functionality, it's harder to try to find the bits and pieces that you actually need. You don't need to scan through a whole dissertation of information related to the student, but perhaps you're just interested in looking at, well, what were your most recent advising appointments? I can quickly click this and see, oh, okay, well, the most recent one was today. And scroll down and get any relevant information related to this. You'll notice that these are other consultants that work in my office, and they are acting as other advisors. So just as a part of the coordinated care network, I can see that there are other people that have worked with this student in the past and for a variety of different reasons. So if I show you, this is how robust this functionality will become through phase 1, through phase 2, through phase 3. Over time, cases and notes and progress reports and all this information will be located in this drawer. And again, keep in mind that you might not be interested in every single thing that's in that drawer, but you can easily search for what you do need. Okay, class info is very similar to terms at a glance or the term details tab that we have in SSC Foundation. The difference is this is going to now separate the classes that they have this term and then also show you who the instructors are for that class. I know it's been a long time coming. We're actually going to have instructors in there because the reason is because if the student comes to your office, we found that advisors are having to look up the instructor information in other places or to ask the student just flat out, who's your instructor in this class? We don't want to put you all in that position. We want to give you everything that you need all up front. So you'll notice the class name, professor, the times and days of that class. We're working on whether or not we can pull in if it's online or not online, just so you all can see the difference. Midterm scores, when they come in, you'll be able to see them here. Final, and then absences are another layer of functionality that we'll get to, hopefully, maybe someday. But the professors would be able to actually take attendance in their classes if they so do choose to. Assignments are also something that they can bring in from your learning management system if they want to. Again, this is more professor functionality, but it helps you all. Because again, completing the coordinated care network here, if you're sitting with a student and they have already expressed that they're having a lot of trouble in this one class, if the if the instructor can put the assignments up here in the system, you'll be able to see, okay, there's a massively large assignment, very critically important assignment that's coming up. Let's talk about how you plan to get through that assignment or to achieve a good grade on that exam that's coming up. The term details is very similar. It's almost the exact same as it was in SSC Foundation, and you're always going to get the pre-college information at the bottom as well. Any questions about these pieces so far? The Major Explorer, I'm not going to spend a lot of time in. You all you've seen this before. It is the exact same. I'm planning to move on to the other tabs here underneath the More section, but wanted to pause for questions. Any questions so far? Is this all that straightforward? Yes?
I have a bunch of questions. I just don't know if you want them now.
All right, give me the first one. What's your highest priority question?
In the past, there's a TBR institution that has an early warning type system. I don't think they're using this. They have a grade in their student data system that I've been told the faculty can record a grade early on when students don't attend class. And I'm wondering, how is the early warning system that you mentioned earlier? You said you would talk about how and when. The thing that was particularly compelling about the other system was that it triggered a reaction from financial aid, where if the student was not attending class, then they would be informed that they would be obligated to pay back their financial aid if they did not attend class. And I'm wondering, is that something we can talk about here, and what is the faculty side like?
I will defer to my colleagues here. I don't think we'll be doing that right away, and that is adding another complex layer of bringing in other people. Right now we're focused on the advisors. So yes, certainly we could possibly do that in the future if financial aid and other folks like the leadership team are interested. But for right now, we're just going to work on the advisor functionality pieces. Did you all want to add anything to that? I'm sorry.
The LMS, which has an attendance tool in it that no one faculty have chosen to use at this point, is actually built so it could go directly to financial aid and do that very thing. So if that's something that faculty are really interested in pursuing, we could certainly pursue it that way.
You mean through Blackboard? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
UTC
So
Blackboard.
not the one that's built in the banner?
No.
Okay.
No. Less banner is always more.
Okay.
The LMS is better.
For the text messages, how do you guarantee you have accuracy of the mobile phones? And what about, I have some non-traditional students who are not comfortable using mobile phones, or at least appear not to be. How do we contact those students reliably without?
So we've started to collect them on the admissions application information already, and so we have as accurate of information as we can based on the most recent information that they've given us. You can also, through SSB, through the student portal, give them the opportunity to go out there and update their information as well. So if for some reason you get a bounce back, and I'm assuming you might get bounce back here as well if you try to do a text message,
Okay.
you can send a message to ask them to update their information as well, and so that we have accurate stuff. So I mean, that one is an easy fix for if we have inaccurate information, on a student.
And as a safety net, we will automatically reroute the bounce back text messages via email. So the student will certainly still get the communications. And then the other thing is, when the student has access to that schedulator that I showed you before, they can add their own number, and that will refresh the number that we have in the back end. And that will not be affected by any of the automation that we do. So I would encourage your students that if they did change numbers or they want to start using it, to fill that out through the schedulator.
when you talked about calendar synchronization, we're in the process of switching to Office 365, but we also have people who use Google Calendar and who use Apple Calendar on their phones. What kind of calendar synchronization are we talking about here?
We can do all kinds, but I think specifically the best is Outlook 365. So as you all move to that, I'm just going to quickly ask the professional advisors, are they going to be on that very soon?
Yes.
Okay, then there you go. We'll work on that Outlook 365 integration with our
Yeah, and our
SSC Campus
support's
system.
going to be, if you choose to have your Office 365 calendar migrate to a Google Calendar, an Apple Calendar, that's certainly your choice, but just like with email, if you want to forward it to a yahoo.wonderful.com, that's your choice. But what we'll support and what will feed this and go back and forth and sync will be your UTC calendar, which will be Office 365 through Exchange.
I'll just ask one more. You still had notes listed right there.
Yes.
How does that figure into the reports?
Great
Because
question.
the notes were, I understood, it sounded like they were separate from reports. So I'm trying to understand, do they automatically get incorporated into reports now?
So let me show you the differences between the two, actually. Let me give you report on advising. So just to give you the differences, this again is way more in-depth in terms of tracking. So yes, this one is actually built for the reporting mechanisms. Now watch, you can also minimize this. I forgot to show you all this, which is very cool, and it will stay up here. So you can go back and forth from the student's page. And at the same time, I could be creating a memo or a to-do list for the student that is able to be shared with the student. So the advising summary reports are not shareable with the students. They technically are, but we advise not to because you can share information via notes. And so those notes are going to have general reasons. They're not going to be necessarily the service that was completed, but more so, okay, degree progress report upload or to-do list completed. And then you will have the opportunity to make it private or public, similar to SSC Foundation, or again, share with the student.
Thank you.
No problem. Now you'll notice too, and I keep forgetting about all these really fun and exciting features that I personally enjoy, but you can actually bold and add HTML functionality with your notes. So if you're somebody who wants to add the italics and say, I told the student a lot of times, you can actually italicize, bold, and add all types of different pieces that you need. Yes, question?
I'm sorry, can you upload attachments within the video?
Yes, within notes and advising summary reports. Yeah. Yes.
Might be for Nancy, but will grad students be in campus?
No, we haven't talked about, we've really concentrated this on undergraduate students significantly because it's a student success collaborative, and graduate students tend to be very successful overall, generally. And so, we've not put graduate students into the context of this. Perhaps if we get down the road some, we'll talk about it and see if there is a context for adding graduates, at some point. But we will concentrate, or at least try to concentrate this on undergraduate students to begin with. And you guys are getting data files on graduate students right now.
We're piloting in December,
Oh, okay.
just to see if it'll work first.
Okay.
And that will be risk-free. So keep that in mind. You're not going to have the risk model on those students.
Yeah, we're sending everything.
Of course.
Right, as much as you can give us. All right, what other questions before I show you all the last couple of tabs? Okay, perfect. All right, so I just wanted to show you all that you can still access other pieces of the student that weren't originally in SSC Foundation. So now you can actually see what's on the student's calendar. So this could include the classes that they're taking, if there are practices that they have, or if eventually we get extracurriculars or co-curricular folks in here, you would be able to see all of those different things marked off, which is helpful. And then you can also see, okay, well, when would be an ideal time for an advising appointment? We're going to skip over study hall. That's more of an athletic piece. But I want to show you, too, that not only are you able to see your upcoming appointments with the student, but any other recent appointments or upcoming appointments that they'll have with other people on campus, which is very important because when you think about the timing of what you might be meeting the student for could be different, especially if there's a primary or secondary advisor. It just might be helpful to look at this page first to see why you both are meeting with that student and if you could avoid any overlap between the conversations or to reiterate what was happening in those conversations. Speaking of conversations, this will also give you a sense for, okay, how many emails have been sent out to this student, which is very important because, again, when you all get into the system, you're going to be very communication happy, and you're going to want to talk to your students and communicate and get them into your offices as soon as possible. But it's very helpful to just get a sense for, okay, well, how many communications has the student received over time? We don't want to create more noise for the student. We want our communications to be effective and get in front of them so that they answer on the first time, not after 15. Yes?
Is there a way to differentiate between a text and an email?
Not here. So we are actually working on our text messaging dashboard, which is a little bit different. And it has some, are you familiar with Marketo? With Hobson's? Okay. It has some ability to look at whether the student have actually opened the emails or not. So that's another layer of this. Not trying to be like Big Brother, but to give you all the information that you need, because if the student hasn't even opened it, that might be a different conversation. Any other questions about these tabs? Okay, I'm going to show you all the Advising Center next and the kiosk capability, because I know you all are coming from different areas on campus. Some of your offices might be using the Advising Center, and some might be using just a kiosk. You just might be owning your own location, so we can have those different conversations. This first button here down at the bottom is the Advising Center. So if you have a front desk administrator or someone at the, maybe a student worker perhaps, that can set this up in the morning and monitor it throughout the day, then this is the right functionality piece for you. If you don't have somebody in your office to do this, then again, you might want to think about a kiosk or having your own control over your own specific Advising Center that we saw here. Okay, so this was the individual Advising Center for you, so you can see who has checked in for your own appointments. But now this is getting into the front desk functionality piece, where you actually have a center that you can manage. And because of this, there are going to be probably, I have no idea, hundreds of advisors that come up down here. You can see this, where if I have so many different advisors in my office, it's going to be hard for me to keep track of who's available when, how many students are on this person's wait list versus another. And what's nice about this Advising Center is you don't necessarily have to search for different people. You can start to narrow these pieces down. You could also find first available for the appointment, and it will refresh and show you what the first available appointment is for that student. So let me actually show you an example, because we know that if you have a front desk person and somebody who might be a student in the office helping out, they might need limited information. They might not need to see the whole student profile page or to know, what risk level they're at. So if I take that same student here, I actually don't remember her last name. Let's keep this student. The information that you get, this is an email, and you can see, like, you can schedule general things for the student. Their major and classification are the only things that are going to pop up. You all can give the front desk person more access if you choose to, but by default, this is all that they will see. And now you can change some things. Let's say the front desk person really needs to get a student in. There's an emergency, right? We can't have the situation where I'm going to Stacy and say, Stacy, can you please update your availability in the system? We need to get the student in here. No, we're just going to unlock the non-available times. And if Stacy's ready, we've had that conversation, I'm going to have the student meet with Stacy. So there's still flexibility built into this tool, even though it looks a little rigid. The goal is to just make sure that things are very streamlined for that front desk person. Now, again, there are going to be services in your offices that might have certain people in charge of. So not everyone in the office might need to have graduation audit conversations with the students. Maybe they do. However, if you needed to just find out who's in charge of next semester course approval, you'll notice that this has now narrowed down the advisor window to just these people. And you'll notice that this is also location oriented. So we're not pulling in every single advisor availability across campus, just those that are in the Academic Success Center. If I go down here, this is a drop-in time. It's going to give me, again, another set of reasons to choose why is the student here. Even though they're waiting, we still care, right? We want to know why they're actually here to see us. And we can go ahead and just say the student has checked in for this appointment, add any additional comments, send an email reminder or an SMS message, because now, again, we're trying to get the student here today, right? So I'm going to go ahead and hit save the appointment. Actually, let's do this on my account. Scrolling down. Yep. I'm actually just going to add the student in my queue because this is my account and I want you to see what happens. Okay, student placed in the advising queue for Ashley Prelow. Now take a look at this. I'm gonna hover over it. These black boxes do disappear if you don't hover over it, so it's always a game during my demonstrations to try to catch it. But Thor has now been added to the waiting list. This is the notification that I am getting as the advisor in this situation. And did you all notice that this popped up here? If you click on this, right, now as the advisor, even though I'm still in the advising center, I'm still an advisor, right? So I need to be able to still meet with the student. So while my front desk worker is in this space, I'm an advisor now saying, oh, Thor is here to see me. That's easy. I'll just hit start the appointment. And when I start the appointment, look what happens. It's a chain reaction. Thor has now left the waiting list, so it's not going to confuse the front desk person. Everything is dependent upon this report. So that's why we ask you to use the advising summary reports and not the notes, because now look, even though my appointment with Thor was at 4:30, she arrived at 1:54. When I click start an appointment, it's going to now count and start the clock for my appointment. When you hit submit, the time stops. So this is going to be a training workflow piece, but ultimately what it's going to do is save you from having to try to calculate how long was the student here, did they come early, were they late? All this is going to be captured in the system. Okay, so I'm going to quickly just exit out of this, and it's going to put the student back into the advising queue. So notice that this tells me again, Thor is back in the waiting list. I wasn't actually ready to take her. Perhaps I had to go to the bathroom first. And imagine a world where there are several waiting lists across your location. This person can now look at all the different advising queues and specifically scroll down to mine and see, okay, this student has only been waiting for 1 minute. But we want to keep track of the duration for why they're waiting and how long they're waiting, because if we need to bump them up to the first available queue or to the first advisor that's able to meet with the student, we can do that. So again, this is all if you have a front desk person. If you do not, could you imagine trying to manage this by yourself on a day-to-day basis? No, not at all. So let's actually go down and show you all the kiosks now. I'm actually going to take this student's ID. Let's go back to Thora Camp. And this is the last piece, folks, so I'll make sure to save just a little bit more time for any last questions. Okay. So now we're going to kick off the kiosk. What's nice about the kiosk is that a student can start this, anyone in that office can start it, you could start it. But what's going to happen is that whatever you're operating this kiosk on will immediately log you out of the system. We do not want students to be able to hit the backspace key or the back button and get back into the site and have access to everyone's everything. So what we'll do is just show you how once the Academic Success Center, for example, is chosen as a location, you can give them the option to just check in for their appointment, or multiple purpose mode is they can schedule appointments, they can reschedule their appointments, they can cancel them. It gives them a lot more flexibility. So I typically recommend doing this. We'll add this ID into the system. And now you can see this. You can see that you are currently waiting on a waiting list to see Ashley Prelow. So you can see that there. If this was an appointment, you could check in for that appointment. And then now you can actually schedule an additional appointments while you're here in the location. So you don't need a person waiting or manning this for the student to be able to go in and schedule time with you or to check in for that appointment. Any questions about this? Oh, the swipe, yes. So we do provide 30 swipers. The reason why we can do the check-in and check-out is because you can just hook this up to an iPad, even a cell phone. I don't recommend that, but people do it. Or to a computer that's in your office. And the student, all they have to do is just swipe their ID. I copied and pasted the ID because I don't have one of your UTC ID cards here. Okay, any questions about this? All right, so let me go back into the PowerPoint just to wrap up here and to talk a little bit more about what's next, what's coming. So today is obviously the kickoff. We wanted to show you all the different pieces of functionality, but we're also now building the site. The kickoff is in a different place than it was with SSC Foundation. The site is actually almost complete, folks. It really is. We're right now in the process of just ironing out some of the configurations and beginning the process of validating the site. So that's going to take place mostly in November. And then we'll talk a little bit more about what types of training pieces do we need for the campus as we get ready for the spring semester to be able to roll this out. And sorry, these should say 2017, just so you all know. We're not going to go back in time and train you all based on this SSC campus site. But the user training is going to happen in spring 2016. In the next session today, we're going to talk a little bit more about when is the right time to have those trainings, what's the rollout process going to look like, who gets access first. And then we can start talking about phase 2 functionality as we get ready for the summer semesters, just to see if there's other pieces that you would like to incorporate at that point. Any questions about this timeline or any questions just in general about the SSC functionality that I showed you today? It's a quiet group today. No more questions? All right, well, oh yes, please.
I'm just curious. I know that you said the calendars will sync to an Outlook calendar, but I'm curious how you set up your availability. Is it strictly through the Outlook calendar, or can you set it up within the system? And what are the restrictions in doing that?
Yes, great question. It's both. And there will be specific trainings on how to do this, especially once you all are on Office 365. I might not actually have the time to do this because it's going to log me out, just like as a safety mechanism. Let's see here. But basically, yes, you can do it. I'm sorry about this. It's not letting me back in at the moment. But you can set up your calendar, and that's just syncing with it. But your availability is what's going to be tied to appointments. It's going to be tied to campaigns, and it's going to be tied to drop-ins. If you have your calendar sync, you can actually just set your availability for 8 to 5:30 or whatever your hours are in the day, and that's it, Monday through Friday, because your calendar will then talk to that availability and will block off the conflicts that you have already.
And Office 365 gives you the capability to do the same thing. It grays out that area if you pick 8 to 5 hours. And because you all will be involved in other appointments and on a university committee, which will not be doodle polled, but they'll be, because everyone will be in Outlook and Exchange, when those are scheduled, that would show syncing to this that you're not available because you're in another meeting.
Exactly. And keep in mind that it's going to come over as conflict or busy time regardless. So your other advisors, your peers, your colleagues here on campus, they can go to your calendar to see what you're actually doing, but we're trying to just prevent the students from seeing the specifics. Okay. Any last questions? Okay. Well, let me just put my contact information up here on the screen for you all. As we get ready to launch the SSC campus site, we will be bringing in Nick Sabo, who is a part of the Grades First Birmingham office team, to help with some more complex cases depending on your workflows. So as you have questions or start thinking about this, please reach out. I mean, connect with Stacy. She's our application admin as well. We just want to make sure that you have everything that you need in preparation for this launch. All right? Any last questions? All right. Well, thank you all so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day.